Canine Detection Collaborative, a detection dog training trio with Stacy Barnett.
Hi.
Robin Grubel.
Hey there.
And Crystal Wing.
What's up?
With humor and a big dose of theory, our trio talks practical training advice and features interviews with top trainers and scientists.
It's Canine Detection Collaborative.
Hi, this is Stacy Barnett with the Canine Detection Collaborative, and I am here with my wonderful co-hosts, Robin Grubel.
Hello.
And Crystal Wing.
Hi there.
And we are coming off of an incredible experience. We are coming off of an incredible experience. We just taught 5 days at the distraction camp. And it was just amazing. And the students that were there working their dogs, we just saw just some incredible growth, and we thought we could talk about it and kind of share a little bit, because just seeing the growth in all the handlers and their dogs, it was pretty incredible.
It was amazing. And we had a cross, right? So it wasn't all just nosework handlers. We had some cadaver dog handler, and we had a Curious handler, and we actually worked
Who started off as live find.
Right. And so I think it's now switching to cadaver. But the reason she's switching is a lot is based on what they're going to get deployed for. So why train for something you're not going to get deployed for? But it was so fun to watch all of the students kind of on day 5 put all of the pieces together on how we had planned out the week, and to watch a field bred pointer go into a chicken coop with
like
60 chickens. Yeah, 60 chickens.
60 chickens.
So they and in all fairness, they were searching in the alleyway, so they weren't in the coop with the chickens flying around, right? But to watch the dog go in and effectively search and do his nose point was amazingly awesome. And it was fun too, because we had puppies like from 6 months all the way up to elite competitor dogs. And welcome to our distraction camp download.
It was amazing. And I have to tell you, that chicken coop is pretty, speaking as someone who's going in and getting the eggs the last couple of days, right?
Right.
Those chickens are pretty active.
Yes. Well, and so I've got white leghorns, which are some of the fastest, most active chickens. So it's not like they're bumps on a pickle. And so that
no. And they bury their eggs. Just so you know, it's like a tortoise.
Well, it's an Easter egg hunt. Every time you go in, it's like Easter all over again. You have to go find all the eggs and not step on any of them. And
Exactly. Yeah, but so it's back to the dog.
That particular chicken coop pretty much engages every single level on the predatory sequence. Plus just the fact that it's a chicken coop. Even when it's clean, it smells, because 60 chickens, it smells. And so...
Right. Well, that, and you had the raccoon that right? The raccoon.
Yes, we were live trapping raccoons every night. So every evening of distraction camp, there was a new trapped coon smell that happened in that chicken coop. Yep. And
then, of course, you have Chewy, who also lives in there.
Right.
And then you've also got Paul, who kept flying in and joining us. And then you had these little barn swallow sparrow things that kept zooming in.
Right. And Chewy's the cat and Paul is the pigeon. And right. Because not everybody lives here. And so
welcome to the farm.
Yeah, every single, let's talk about stock, and I want to chase it and I want to catch it and I then want to defeather it. And every single piece of that is present, plus the overwhelming smell of just being in a chicken coop. is
Well, and then on the other side of the chicken coop wall, you had donkeys. And then on the man door side of the chicken coop, you have your dogs in the backyard.
which is my
So
dog
they're
yard.
coming through an area where there's dogs to go into this. Yeah.
Right.
So
I mean, it's super swell.
so smelly in dog yards, and you got pretty
Yes.
girls.
We do have lots of pretty girls. And the donkeys are
Lots of pretty
weird and annoying. And, I even saw we're doing stuff and you could see the dogs be like, oh my God, they're huge dogs with really big pointy ears, but they look funny. And it was interesting to watch the dogs. It wasn't necessarily always the visual of the donkeys, the goats, the semi-tractors running through, all of that sort of stuff. It was actually the overwhelming smells and how each building that we used in each area that we used had all of these overwhelming smells, including the random well-placed dead rat, which we didn't place. It was just dead there. So that we found while we were setting up hives.
Yeah, no, that was an accident.
And to watch these handlers and being able to coach these handlers where to set up their dog for the problem. Talking through, Stacy, you had this great saying of we use odor placement and hide placement to sculpt our dog. And
we sculpt our dogs' behavior through hide placement. Yep.
Right. And I know I was standing, I'm like, ooh, that was a nice one.
Immediately, I
I
typed
was
it in the
kinda-
phone. We have our little messenger group going, and I was like, writing that down right now. That's genius. I love it. It's visual. I'm in love.
All over it.
Because I always kind of feel like we set the hide and it's kind of like, it's the picture in my head of the pendulum, but for me, it's a sculpture. And you're taking a little off the right, and then you take a little off the left, and then you may have to add a little bit over on here on the top. And, that's just kind of how I picture it. And then I think of Crystal because of the art aspect. I also think of Crystal there. I'm always like,
And then, of course, Robin had to talk about how the dogs were going through with the paintbrush on their nose. And I'm just like, you guys, I love this all. This is making me so happy. They're just painting the odor. And of course, what am I envisioning? I'm in like this whole, what's the thing where you put the goggles on and it's like the alternate universe kind of thing? What is that?
Virtual reality. Yeah.
Yeah. Virtual reality. That's what it is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I got to play one of those art games once. And that's exactly what I imagined all of a sudden as I was living in this virtual reality world. And the dog is like going through and painting. And it's just like, oh, it's the coolest thing.
Yeah. And you know what was cool is like we really started, the day really, the whole 5 days, we started a lot with engagement. And, Crystal is like, I think people were like, whoa, I can't believe, really just, teaching their dogs how to really how to engage with them and play with them. It was so huge. It was just so huge.
It was interesting to watch the students play with their dog for me.
Yeah.
And figuring out the differences, because, we had this wonderful little dog who actually part of their whole play sequence was the nose bops. So nose bops, for you guys who can't see me, I'm holding out my hand and it's basically the dog runs. I forget that people can't see us, right? The dog is basically doing a nose touch to the palm of your hand, which I use for my Are You Ready to Go to Work sequence. And she realized that she could use that as part of the reinforcement of experience for her dog. Because Crystal coined that term while we were doing this, is it's not just reward your dog, it's a reinforcement experience. So that she could use that and keep this dog engaged from point A to point B so that he didn't get distracted. And so that was one of those internal little excited things, because we were doing speed drills and let's show how you go from reinforce your dog and then you reinforce to the next space where you're going to release the dog.
And one of the good resources for that, I think she probably got that from Sexier Than a Squirrel. Unless she may just came up with it too, but that's another good resource people can use. It's an entire program that they've written. And so that's one of the games in there. And so then also the Leslie McDevitt of like the 1, 2, 3 and the pattern games. Those are all great resources people could also kind of tap into.
Right.
And I know it sounds funny, Sexier Than a Squirrel, but that's the name of the program.
Oh, yeah. I love that name.
Yeah.
We're all trying to be that, right?
Yeah.
I was thinking of Bristol the other day. I'm like, maybe I just need to think about being sexier than Paul the pigeon. So, yeah.
I don't know if that's possible.
I don't think that's possible.
That would be hard.
Yeah.
Paul's awful pretty.
She is
awful sexy.
Uh-huh.
Yes, she
So we have to post her. Have we put her on our Facebook yet? I don't think we have.
I don't think so. So, maybe she'll be our distraction camp mascot.
She like
there we
struts
go.
it too. I really thought we were going to lose Paul though when I was out there with you, Robin, and I had Powder on the line on the leash.
And Paul did a flyby and Powder did a flip after Paul. So we're lucky that Powder was on the
She did backflip.
Yep.
She did backflip.
Yeah.
But I loved watching, and it was fun to watch all of the handlers introduce some new aspects to their play that actually enhanced how their dog worked through distractions. Because, I mean, let's be honest, the entire foundation of distraction camp is you have to pay more than whatever the distraction is. And so, that was fun. And being able to teach all of the students how to progressively make their training harder and train in more distracting environments.
I think if I tag on to that, it's the arousal piece because play is about bringing the arousal up for a lot of the dogs. And when they can bring their arousal up, think about how that can work you through distractions. It can work you through fear. And that's really, I think, what a big push of the engagement piece was too. And I also saw a lot of how the distractions really seemed to lose their power because the dogs were loving their job. And I think when we started to really hone in on the fact that the job is not just from the point of go search and you found the thing and that's the job, but the job is before that, from when you leave the car all the way to when you go to a prep line for some handlers, to a start line for the others, and then to do the thing. And then the big reward sequence or experience that I liked calling it an experience because I felt like that really helped people kind of grasp the concept that it's bigger than just a moment, but it's a big experience that maybe even goes all the way back to the car, like what Robin and Stacy had you doing. And when the dogs are loving that job from the time they get out of the car to the time they go back to the car, it just felt like all the distractions lost their power and they just melted away. Like nothing was distracting anymore.
Did you notice how towards the end of the week, or actually even starting probably more in the middle of the week, how we never saw a hide with just like, here's your couple cookies?
Oh, yeah.
I did.
It was just like...
It was amazing.
Yeah. And even the people watching were like cheering for the dogs. And the dogs came away like, whoa, did you just see what I did? It was so cool. It was so cool.
I can't wait for the people to go everywhere and start be cheering for everybody and just everyone's all of the handlers and trainers that we just met are going to be totally rocking everywhere they go from now on. Like, why are you screaming and yelling and cheering so much? Because the dogs love it. And not all dogs, but
most of them. It was so funny to watch, to experience the community that happened by, even day 3, that it became this whole celebration when somebody would run their dog and they could articulate, this is what I want the dog to do. And the marking was spot on. And the whole peanut section erupted in cheers. It was just...
And speaking of the peanut gallery, did you notice how far away our handlers came from? It was so cool.
It was
so cool. We had, I think, 2 people from, now keep in mind that the distraction camp was in Iowa, right? Which is in kind of the center of the country.
Yeah.
So we had 2 people from Florida. We had someone from Louisiana. We had Illinois. We had Michigan. We had
Ohio.
Pennsylvania and Missouri.
Pennsylvania, Missouri. We also had another Iowa
Jersey.
person. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was super fantastic. Plus, we have all of these dogs coming into a brand new environment and a brand new ecosystem environmentally, because we were in the mid 90s and it was hot. I mean, it's Iowa in the summer, perfect corn growing weather. So it's hot and humid. And that alone does funky stuff to your odor.
Yeah.
And not to mention we had the brand new donkey babies and the placenta we used as part of distraction camp, which all of the dogs searched over and nobody got stuck. Super cool.
Well, they had that. They had the raccoon dirt. They had a couple of dead mice there as your distraction too, didn't you? Like 2 of them?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Catfish bait.
And so we've got all of these weird things, all of these like really what we would think are super, super interesting things. And what got some of the dogs? Pickles. Pickles do that.
Yeah.
Pickles, right?
Would have never guessed the pickles.
We even had catfish bait out in all of the distraction stuff. And some of the dogs are like, nope, pickles. Nope, broccoli. Really?
But if you don't know what catfish bait is, how would you describe it?
Go to Walmart and look in the fishing section. And it is this really nasty stuff that people use to catch catfish. One of the primary ingredients is chicken blood. And I've got mine that I keep safely in a tad. And the reason I put it in, and so we'll link to Sci Canine for that one. And the reason I put it in a tad is because I use it in my ORT boxes all the time. And I don't want to have the goo running around in my boxes. And so that's what we put out. So it's basically stinky chicken blood-ish icky stuff that, oh my gosh, the dogs actually, if you find some next to the shore, your dog's probably going to roll in it. And it's what catfish like to eat.
Oh.
And so it's nasty. So we had that out, and these little, all of the dogs are searching over all of that stuff. They're searching over the top of toys on the ground. They're searching over the top of dog food cookies that are safely ensconced in suet cages, to
donkey poop,
some
of that stuff.
Yep. All to find odor. Even bread, which I didn't know from you guys was like a huge distractor for your dogs.
Oh my gosh, it's a carb.
Oh, well, right. You know.
Like what we should have had. We should have had Hawaiian.
We should have put Hawaiian rolls.
I'm a carbivore. Too soon. Too soon. No, I'm totally a carbivore, so I relate.
I know, right? Yeah. Well, we had that really great dinner, right, where everybody, we had the potluck. So on the first night, so I'm looking at this going, oh, distractions, right?
Right, and that's what we did. We just went through the fridge.
Exactly. We had fried chicken. I think we had potato salad. We had the hamburger bun. I looked at the bun and I'm like, oh yeah, we're using the bun, right? All of this stuff. Now, what I found, I was working in the Quonset hut with a bunch of the handlers going through we had containers out there. And I mean, talk about a distracting area. There's all kinds of critters in there. We had the raccoon smell was kind of getting some of the dogs from the trap. And the fried chicken, I would say that the fried chicken was probably the most difficult one we were working on over there. But the dogs figured it out. They're like, oh yeah, no, I don't get paid on fried chicken. I get paid on birch. So that was,
which is amazing. You think
cool.
about that. And I know for a fact we've got live rats living under the floor of the Quonset.
Oh yeah.
And there's mice and there's baby birds, and watching, I think one of the exciting things for me was we knew the path of what we were trying to set how we were setting up the handlers and why we were doing certain things. And then by day 5, when all of the dogs are absolutely exhausted and you've got kind of the glazed over look out of the handlers, but we were having a conversation and they were like, we now understand why on day 5, why you started us where you did on day 1.
Yeah. There was such a leap of faith there.
There was. It was amazing. And and then
thinking about when they came in and one of the handlers, I think they were a team that came in together as 2 of them. And they said, you were driving in and, I asked my friend, well, do you know what we're doing? And she says, no.
I know, right?
She's like, we don't have an agenda. We just know that we're doing distractions for 5 days. And talk about just a blind leap of faith coming into it, like what you were saying, because it's like, I really don't know what we're doing. But we also couldn't necessarily share everything because we needed to kind of have it so you could see how things were going to build. And I really know that they got it, especially from seeing all the great Facebook posts and the shares and, what they've said about seeing it all come together. And that's one of my favorite things was the flow that we created and all of the planning we put into it. And I think they really appreciated that. Yeah. And that's what I loved about getting to train with you guys and teach with you guys was just the experience of having 3 educators, 3 coaches, 3 trainers, 3 handlers. We have all those different kind of roles that we have, and being able to put all of that from 3 different disciplines together. I don't think it could get any better. I mean, I was on such a training high every night. Oh, and no one told me that we'd be training for like 12 hours every day.
I know, right?
Every day. It was like, I think the shortest day we had was a 12-hour training day.
It was
and then we're going to bed so exhausted. Oh,
yeah.
But it was like, I couldn't wait to get up the next day and do it again.
Right.
Well, by the time we went to bed, we were just about ready to get up. So it was just.
Yeah, really. We're ready to do it again. Let's go.
And because of the weather, we did early morning runs. And in Iowa this time of year, starting about 2:00 is when it gets hot. And so, unless it's a really beastly, ugly day. And so we would run dogs pretty much straight from 7 until 2. And then we do lecture until 4:30, which then turned into 5, which then might have turned into 6.
We never ended at 4:30.
And we never did.
Yeah.
And then we get dogs back out and we do, hey, let's do this tweak, let's try this one thing. And Crystal made these fabulous doodle notes. And we gave,
oh my gosh, they're amazing. I can't believe those.
And watching the students color during class was fantastic.
Crystal, you want to talk about that? Because I know you've done some research about the whole doodle notes and the brain and the.
I kind of like learning about the brain and just how we learn and how to make things stick. And part of that is we have this little bottleneck that happens. This is for our dogs too. So everything kind of relates. It absolutely relates. So you can only take in so much information and you have that kind of bottleneck happen. And so you can only take in so much visual. You can only take in so much auditory. But when you mix them together, it lets the information kind of combine. And then that bottleneck, you're retaining more information as you go. So with the doodle note, what I was showing them, and I use this as an art teacher, is that they have colored pencils, they have their sheet, it has opportunities on there for them to be able to just doodle and color. And I even kind of talked about a couple different ways they could do it, because I thought in case, they needed more ideas than just like coloring big, bold areas. But the idea is if you have visual triggers that are on these notes, it also gives you that verbal linguistic kind of combination, so that then you have this image that sticks with whatever you're hearing. And so all of it's going together almost like a balance, like a scale. And that's what I was able to use on one of Stacy's sheets, was talking about the balancing. And so as a big scale in the background to kind of think about, balancing single versus multiple hides. And Robin talked about this kind of progression plan. So we used a staircase. And so it's 3 different flights of stairs. And so that visual then starts to relate to the information being presented. And on mine, I had the predatory sequence and talking about play. And so I had little pictures of little cartoon dogs to kind of show each of those phases. And those little images may not seem like much in the beginning, but as you're listening and as you're doodling, it helps the information stay. And so I think the participants were all pretty happy about it. And then you don't have to be spending all of this time writing, and trying to capture all the information. And it's also showing that, we're prepared and we already have this information we're going to show you. And it's not just flying by the seat of our pants, but it's organized in a way that's there to help you learn. So everything we did scaffolded from the very beginning handler all the way up to the most advanced. And this was another way to help make that connection. So we really tried to think and be thoughtful about all of the different areas we could approach this camp.
I very much appreciated the doodle notes because
Yes.
it's not death by PowerPoint.
Right.
And
so our PowerPoints were just some pictures.
Right.
And so all the words were happening by us teaching, and the PowerPoint's just a picture to help us kind of convey the message. And that's going to be another way to use what we're saying and what they're seeing. So even that was very thoughtful. So it's things that, maybe students don't quite know what we're doing, but there's a lot of brain and a lot of science behind it.
Right. And it was fun to see not only the coloring, but when we're starting to talk about something or when the students are asking a question, they're actually taking the material and they're asking a very thoughtful question. And on the days 4 and 5, we started asking, where would you place hides? And the students were actually starting to, okay, this is what's happening and this is what's happening. So I need to place it here. And I'll be honest, one of the things I was most excited about is to watch every single person who walked into the cattle barn choose where they wanted to start based on the skill that they were working on in their talk.
Yes.
That was, and make the choice. Am I doing 1 hide or am I doing 2? Because we talked a lot about the power, and I think we've talked about it before in the podcast, the power of one and done. And I think some of the students, actually, I think all of the students started to really see how the power of one and done can be really transformational in their training.
Yeah, they were really did.
I think objective-based training, I think that's what you were just hitting on there.
Yes.
And I think that's what I saw the power in, is having everyone understand that a lot of the time of training the dog wasn't necessarily the time when the dog was out doing the thing, but was all of the talk afterward and having the accountability buddies in the community. And then it was the time before, making sure the problems were going to present right and having the discussions. And so much of that was so powerful. And that was the part that I got so excited about, was hearing them talking about, I can't wait for the next problem. I'm going to try this because, I liked how this was going and I want to see where this is going to go. And it was so great to hear them really pushing each other. And then you'd hear someone else kind of come in and say, well, wait, when I saw you do it. And the fact that when I saw you do it, they were really cheering each other on.
Right.
And they were invested in each other. And that's where I always I feel so badly though, when people go back home and they have no one to train with, because you build this community and you build all of this, and then you're back to just being by yourself. But at least then I think we still gave them tools to be able to look at their training, create those objectives, and still be able to help, anyone that could help them even just put stuff, where to put stuff, and just to be able to train others. I think we really offered those skills as well.
Yeah, it was really how to train your dog. I mean, that's really what Distraction Camp was. It was how to train your dog.
How to teach.
To teach and to train
and to balance every variable.
And to stop the testing. Let's see
we
what
didn't
will
do
happen.
testing. We didn't need to.
No, we
testing.
didn't test anything all weekend. And
no
Stacy,
gotchas, no tests. It was all teaching and training and looking at the dogs as learners and looking at the humans as trainers, not just handlers. And I'm not saying just as in that it's less than, but I think that a lot of the people that came here did not see themselves as trainers. And I looked at a couple people and I'm like, well, who trained your dog? Well, I did. Well, so doesn't that make you a trainer? And it was that huge just light bulb moment for a couple people.
They were like,
It's like if you're the one
"Oh."
training your dog, you're the trainer.
Right. And I enjoyed the fact it was almost also a life skills seminar because we had,
Yes.
we had some reactive dogs, and just being able to provide them some, and you can't see it, here's the air quotes, outside the ring ideas.
Right.
And, I understand having a very reactionary dog. And when we say reactionary, it's whether it's not that they're going to bite something, but they just react in they have lots of feelings about their environment. And if something scares them, they react in a certain way. So reactionary could be all sorts of things. And to just give that trainer some ideas and have you thought about using a chin rest for your transport and those sorts of things is hopefully, and it's always fun to get notes from students. Well, so-and-so's life has changed because now they have to go through me to get everything. And it's like, excellent.
Yeah. And the difference in that dog and how she was able to really manage her from the beginning to the end of the week. It was so beautiful to see. It was just so beautiful.
Yeah.
And I think to sum up her experience, she has to realize it's just give your dog a job.
Give your dog a job.
That's so much of what so many people need to hear. Just give your dog a job. When they have a job, they have expectations and they can make better choices then. Otherwise, they're just guessing. And so when we have a task, and especially when they love that task, they don't have to guess anymore. Just make it so much clearer for the dog. And it makes it clearer for us. Because what I love too is we really reinforce the idea of you have to look at day to day. You can't just look at when you're in the ring or just competing. You have to look at how you have and how you interact with your dog at all times. Anytime your dog is out with you, you are training. And so that all applies to when you're in the ring and when you're competing and when you're, trying to get the tasks that you want. So if you're rehearsing something here, they're going to generalize that over there. And so I think that was a really powerful kind of life skill that they were taking. And they started saying, oh, I do this at home. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm going to do this instead. Oh my gosh, I let my dog do all these things. And by doing that, I now see why when I'm doing this, they're just running and grabbing all these distractions and doing that because I'm allowing it. And so I can't allow it here and then not allow it there. That's just not consistency. So consistency is key.
And it was interesting to see them put those things together. And then we were able to give them, some simple stuff. You don't want your dog to bolt into the ring. Well, guess what you now have to do? You have to do sits. And they have to wait before they go through the door at home. Right. Because it's all the same sort of concept. And so it's not this big, huge thing of corrections and all sorts of stuff. You use the thing that they want to reinforce the behavior that you want out of them. And one of the actually really nice examples was, so as they were going in through the man door into the chicken coop, as Crystal said, it's right next to my dog yard. Well, one of the dogs, as they were getting ready to get set up to go into the chicken coop, you could just see his whole face gloss over because he's like, oh my gosh, dog yard. I want to go see all of the pretty dog smells. And so the handler did an excellent job of focusing the dog, turned him loose into the chicken coop to do a very easy hide because we were working on distractions. Actually, the dog did 2 hides in that particular search because he blew by the first one, hit the farthest one, came back, hit the closest one. We ended, she played with him for a little bit, and then sent him into my dog yard to sniff as part of his reinforcement.
That's so great.
It was beautiful. And I was like, you know what
I loved about it? Well, one of the things I loved about it, I loved the whole week, but the really cool part that you just don't get anywhere else is the different perspective.
Yeah.
Or English is our, right? The different perspectives, sorry. The different perspectives that are just, and we talk about that all the time. I mean, that's what this podcast is, right? It's so powerful because it takes people away from their typical way of training. And if you take that leap of faith, you start to see that there are certain things that if you just tweaked a little bit are really, really powerful. You know, for instance, just the way you reward your dog. You know, if I watch a lot of sport handlers, they just go up and give a couple of cookies and they ask their dog to find another hide. We changed all that.
We did.
And the dogs went, oh yeah. Right.
So I think every single one of those handlers looked at me like I was insane.
Yeah.
Because I told
At some
them,
point.
yeah, they did. I know they did. Because because we have people on, especially the search and rescue side, who use food as part of their reinforcement cycle,
right?
Experience with their dogs. And usually what happens with them, because we're so busy trying to dissect what just happened, it goes back to, here's your 3 pieces of food, pat you on the head. I'm going to go talk to my training friends. You can screw around and do whatever you're going to do. So I had started challenging people in my classes that if they were going to use food for their reinforcement, that they actually had to sing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star twice while they reinforced their dog. And I actually have a video of somebody, one of my students had sent me a video of them reinforcing their dog while singing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. In the 5-year-old girl who won a free pony voice, because that's what the dog liked. And for the students that did that, and then we actually also kind of forced them to, because we did so many one and dones, and then told them to party to the car.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I think that was very powerful for a lot of dogs.
Yeah. Yeah. It was huge.
Quite the experience.
It was.
Yeah. and the whole idea about teaching people about reinforcers versus rewards, right? So it wasn't, this is your cookie. This is how do we reinforce the experience? And I think that concept was pretty powerful.
The experience part of it, I had always heard, it's a reinforcement event.
Yes.
And that's kind of like, okay, I think event, I'm like, okay, now we have balloons and we've got this whole 2-hour thing. It's kind of like a wedding, blah. As you can tell, I don't appreciate going to weddings. I'll send you a card, not get big on weddings. But to make it and to think about it, as Crystal said, it's an experience. It's a reinforcing experience for the dog, makes you really think about what is that dog experiencing and do they find it reinforcing to the behavior that they just did?
Yeah, because it's only reinforcing if the dog says so. And I think one of my favorite moments was a golden retriever that loved cuddles. The golden retriever was just, this is the best thing ever. But what I watched was that after the job, it reminded me of like if I'm out competing and I'm playing basketball or something, I don't want somebody hugging me when I'm all sweaty and gross. And that's exactly what I saw from her dog. And he would almost kind of flinch a little bit like, oh, don't pet me right now.
No touching.
And this is a dog that all other times is touch me, cuddle me, get close to me. And as soon as I pointed that out, it was interesting because she watched and she said, oh my gosh, he really doesn't like to be petted as part of this reward. So what am I supposed to do? And let's watch. It looked like your dog really likes it when you get, a little bit more animated with your motions and when you're animated with your food and even with your voice and not like, oh my gosh, it doesn't have to be that. Not all dogs like the squealy squeaky. But just the, oh, what a good boy you are. That was so nice. What a good dog. And he just lit up and that tail started swooshing. Can you see it? Can you imagine?
Well, yeah,
retriever
it was
tail?
like this, a very well-groomed golden retriever tail
Oh,
swooshing in
one
the
of the
wind.
most
Yes.
beautiful golden
Yeah.
retrievers. Just, gorgeous. And just that big swoopy tail and all the happiness. And I wanted to like snuggle him, but not right then. And
Right.
so definitely you have to know what's reinforcing for your dog. And it goes back to, for me, reading your dog. That is just, it seems like everything I go back to is the foundation of you have to be able to advocate for your dog and understand what your dog likes and doesn't like. And it's just through how they move, how they act, knowing some of just how does the tail move? How do the ears move? What are they doing? How excited are they? And how do you tell? That I don't know. That's just, to me, the power of it's reading your dog.
And I appreciate that a ton because Nico is even the kind of dog, really one of his things that he likes, okay, besides striking stuff and having you play tug with him, is when he gets really hot, all he wants to do is come up and lean on you and have you pet him while he possesses the thing in his mouth.
Right.
But don't do that too early or we don't like it yet. And so that's one of those, right? No,
Very true.
Right. I'll just go ahead and do another big circle until I can actually do that. And some of it is, reading as the human, if I need to make this event, this experience a little bit longer because my dog just did $100,000 job and I need to make sure I pay them $100,000. How can you make it longer without inserting? Nico has an out problem. Big shocker. He's a Dutch Shepherd.
You know what though? I've seen a lot of really nice.
I don't know.
I think he had an out problem.
He had an out problem.
You have your verb tense incorrect there, Robin. I think your verb
Let's look at
tense
the
is
dog you
incorrect.
have today, not the dog you had
Exactly.
yesterday.
I saw some freaking nice outs the last couple of days.
And I've also learned, thanks to Crystal's coaching, on when I should ask for them and when I shouldn't be greedy.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Right. And so going through that whole, okay, we just need to manage this in such a way that I don't introduce that conflict in on our reinforcement experience. And I think especially those dogs in my planet that have those out problems, we don't do certain exercises or things that we need to be doing because the conflict that comes with the out or some of the other behaviors, because we don't take the time to work on them, actually infringes on the rest of our training time. And the distraction camp was all how you take the basic fundamentals of your training and how you put those building blocks together to go search and work in a highly complex environment.
Yeah.
Without conflict.
Without conflict.
And that goes back to like when we had the Inspire camp. When we had the Inspire camp here, and Nina was one of the instructors, and she talked about how the outs are expensive.
Yes.
And you kind of made the reference to the money, that if it's $100,000 job, you need to get paid that much. And for some dogs, that out is very expensive. And for others, it's not. And so you have to kind of know for some dogs, distractions are super expensive for them to make the choice to not go do that distraction. That is really hard for them. And they are working so much harder than I think we recognize because we don't have our scent goggles, our odor goggles, whatever you want to have. And we don't even have an idea of what they're actually working through. And then even thinking about the trigger stacking, the reactive dog handler trainer that we were talking about, at one point I pointed out that she didn't recognize all the stuff her dog was going through before they started the job because she was getting the instruction from, I think from Robin at the time as to what to do in the Quonset. And her dog is keyed on the donkeys, is watching the other dogs, is getting dogs from behind her. And she didn't notice any of that. So what she thought was she still had the same dog that she brought from the car over to that place. But in the time they sat there in just that 30 seconds, that dog's world just spun up a whole bunch. So then when she goes to Cinder something I love, the observation you guys kept making for people was that when they started searching, they would do this kind of shake off moment. And you pointed out your dog has not been searching at any of this time until they did that shake off. So all of that area hasn't been covered because they couldn't focus yet. And so that engagement piece, I saw it firsthand. So I mean, time after time with so many of the handlers and trainers that it was, you have to be connected from that start or you're going to miss a whole bunch of that search area. And that was a huge takeaway for me. I really appreciated seeing that.
You know what was also really, really great was I think people really embrace the aspect, the idea of training over testing. You know, when I go out and I see a lot of nose work handlers and everything, there's a feeling of trying to replicate the test environment, which is the trial, replicating the test. And I think people really started to embrace the training of it and not the testing, because the test becomes easy. That's really what training is. Training is about making that test easy. But if we replicate the test, we're just testing. But if we give them the dogs the tools to handle like these distractions, it makes the test easy. And I think people really, really embrace that. And also realize that you sometimes have to train differently than you trial.
Right. And I think I went on a rant. Actually,
I think we had several soapboxes.
We did have several soapboxes. But one of the sayings that I really don't like is the whole trust your dog saying.
Amen.
Right?
Amen.
Because that sort of implies everything is wrapped up into this weird little magical black box that
it puts so much pressure on the dog.
Exactly. So my whole thought process is trust your training, then trust your dog.
Exactly. If your training is there, you can trust your dog, right?
Correct. And so, and it's that whole evolution of if we stop trying to just throw out stuff and see what the dog will do on how it'll react in this situation and how it will react in this situation. And we start looking at it as, what skill set does my dog need to have in order to be successful if I want to set out this problem? Then we can actually have the conversation of, I need to train these skill sets so that my dog understands what to do when we get into a situation that looks like that, which actually all the way leads back to fluency.
One of our first podcasts
where we talked about fluency. And because what you guys show up to for some of your trials, you're never going to be able to train in all of those exact environments. And for detection,
never.
Right.
Exactly. Never.
You can't train for all that stuff. But if you've trained the skill sets the dogs need in order to solve the problems, that's where your training comes into. And let them figure it out is like the whole danger, Will Robinson, danger. Yeah.
I mean, I literally, one of the summits I did, I searched the inside of a 737. I'm sorry, I've never trained my dog in an airplane before. Right?
Exactly. I've never trained my dog in an airplane.
Right. She's never been in an airplane. Like, how many of us have? And by the way, that was on my bucket list. That was so high on my bucket list. I was like, yeah, search the plane, man. And she found all the hides in there. There was a hide in the cargo area. There was a hide under one of the seats up front, like in the bulkhead. And there was a hide in the cockpit. Yes, I have video of my dog searching a cockpit of a 737. So, right? So it's all this. You can't replicate that. You can't.
You can't, but you can give your dog the skill sets to do it.
You can give your dog the tools, right? Yeah,
right.
You can give them the tools. You can give them the desire. And then they go in, they're like, yeah, I know I'm searching. Like, got it. Here's the hide, right? That's the best.
I am excited for how many skill sets we worked on very thoughtfully with every single one of those handlers.
Yeah. Yeah. And they found some hard hides too.
Oh, I was so impressed. I was so impressed by the dogs and the trainers that came in. I was already impressed. And when they left,
Yeah.
I couldn't believe the
away.
transformation. Yeah. And how much they had learned and were able to then share with others. And then the impact that hopefully they'll be able to make with other people when they go, there are all those different directions. I'm really super stoked about that.
Watching.
Oh, it's amazing.
Almost, well, and I only got to see like maybe 3/4 of them. But watching every single one of these dogs walk into the cattle barn, which, by the way, for everybody listening, is now being used as a donkey barn.
And cattle too.
And cows. The cows come through. But it was like the biggest pile, because donkeys, if you didn't know, are quite clean animals. And so they actually pick certain locations to go poo and pee. And that's where they go poo and pee. And so in this barn, they have a location where they have chosen basically as their litter box. And to watch these dogs walk in, and the handlers set them up appropriately, and the dogs didn't even acknowledge that existed.
It was incredible. There were 2 hides in there.
There were. And I don't think the students understand that we're standing in the background, like doing little mental backflips, because we're so excited. We're like, oh my God, look at the dogs work.
Yeah. And there's a lot of airflow too, because there's a crosswind and
a half a missing roof.
Yeah, the missing roof.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Derecho.
Oh, speaking of missing roof.
Oh my God, we have to talk about that storm.
We had that huge storm that came through and wrecked my canopy. It took all the other canopies out. It was like, really? We're out there getting rained on. The sideway. I thought it was hailing. The rain was so powerful. I thought it was hail. And I'm like, nope, that's just rain and it hurts.
It was time for Dorothy. It was just like...
It was. And think about all of these dogs who are sitting in the cars. Yeah. Or some of them were sitting out in crates in the rain, right? And so then they got thrown into cars. And we let the rainstorm pass, and they were like, yeah, okay, let's go to work. And they're like, okay.
I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen winds like that. Like, it was like hurricane. I don't know if it was hurricane force, but it was like, I don't know. Like,
it was a lot of wind.
It was crazy.
Yeah. It was
in Iowa.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
I was like, whoosh. And I'm like, okay, there's no rotation, right, Robin? There's no rotation.
No rotation. All of the people who aren't from Iowa is like, no rotation. I'm like, no, we're fine. It's not green.
What did you call that storm? I forgot what you called it.
A derecho.
Derecho. Okay.
Right. And we had one last December. That was not a derecho. That was probably a straight line wind.
Yeah.
And it was just gusty, and we had canopies. So, but it took out Crystal's house. Right. Which
the poor goat shed.
Oh yeah. And the goat shed got tipped over, and Callie, the goat, got trapped in the goat shed. She couldn't figure out how to jump out. So
when you say trapped in, the goat shed was upside down, right? And then so she was in the goats, and so she couldn't jump up and out of it to get back down on the ground because she was too high up at that point. She was fine. We went and flipped it over, and she was totally fine. Yeah, but she was just standing there looking at us, big old floppy ears.
Yeah, she's a big newbie, and she's like, I don't know. But, and my animals are so funny because we're standing out there talking about distractions, right? For all of the students, and the students have got their chairs lined up. I posted this on Facebook, and I've got 2 donkeys and a goat that come up and are like, yep, we're going to listen about distractions too. And we're just going to hang out right behind all the students.
Really funny.
So I have to say thank you to all of the students who came, and thank you to you two for like one of the best training weeks and teaching weeks I've had in a really, really long time, because it was fun to be able to, hey, Robin, I need this. Hey, Stacy needs to talk to so-and-so about that. Hey, Crystal, we need you to do this. Because it was meeting students at all of those different levels. So it was super fun.
And we're going to do it again next year.
We are.
The teamwork in my mind was just outstanding. And I loved how the students, we said, I think it was day 3. And I said something about, this is the first time we've all been able to teach together. And it was great because she turned and said, we should get a discount for being guinea pigs. Like, no.
No.
And they couldn't believe that we've never taught together. They absolutely were
yeah.
just floored by that. And then I love that the one student said, I really wish I'd have listened to that D's episode because all of this would have made so much more sense coming into it. It'd have been so much easier.
If I listened, because we have
Rework
six
next year.
D's. 6
6.
Yeah,
We
those
worked all
4
6.
D's are really
worked
important
all
for them
6.
to understand.
That
Because
is.
those 4, that's important. Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
we worked all
Jerks.
6 of them.
Okay, pretty much. So we
4.
cited a whole bunch of stuff in the episode, so they will all be in the show notes. So make sure to check that out, and make sure you go out to the website. We promise to have freebies for September for everybody who has signed up to be on the mailing list. We've been a little busy this summer, so we're going to do freebies starting again in September. And we thank you so much for listening.
Canine Detection Collaborative.
We appreciate the time you spend with us. If you liked this episode, not only should you follow us so you don't miss the next one, but please also rate and review us in your favorite podcast app. For info on collaborating with us, go to k9detectioncollaborative.com. That's K9detectioncollaborative.com, where you can find our socials and pick up our latest monthly freebie. Join us again to talk training in the next episode.